Welcome back to Open Exchange. Now, as mentioned before the break, we'll be focusing on BEE today. Godfrey Mustizwa caught up with Louisa Stephens from Umnotho Fund Manager from the National Empowerment Fund at the Maritime conference currently underway in Cape Town. He asked her what the role of the NEF was playing in the maritime industry.
There is a big role to play because the capital investment that's required to get involved in big projects in the maritime sector is, and often, we have the challenge that there is a lack of capital and access to finance to be able to inject into these big projects. Right. We as NEF are able to provide funding to unlock participation for black players. As a broad example, we are in the process of working with entrepreneurs involved in two fairly large projects.
Sure. Let's talk about them. Which ones are these?
The first one is a project which involves acquisition of a locally South African flagged vessel that will provide services into the telecommunications as well as the energy sector. Sure. So maintaining the cable that is laid underground, and those sort of vessels, they're specialized in nature, and it's a fairly niche market where even given the current economic conditions, there's still ongoing demand that is really linked to the growth in the telecommunications and energy sectors.
Sure.
We're working with the local banks and DFIs to assist with equity for the black players to unlock that. But more than that, we want to make sure that there's skills transfer. So rather than maintaining a long-term contract with external players, often international players who will be providing the services, we want measurable goals where skills would be transferred to the entrepreneurs that we're supporting, so that we start to build a pool of skills in the country.
Yeah, I was going to raise that question around skills because, the monies that you're talking about here, you were telling me earlier that we're looking potentially at the two large projects that you spoke about, 1.6 billion rand in total, which is a lot of money, which without skill, one would find it difficult to maintain and grow. So in terms of the NEF training programs, especially for the South African maritime industry, what role do you play? What skills do you transfer to these guys when you say to them, listen, there's opportunity here, come in?
We play two roles. I think the first thing is that a lot of black entrepreneurs, they might be specialists in their sector or industry. However, they may not have experience in running a business before.
Sure.
So we provide a supportive role in providing mentorship services, be it financial, technical skills, marketing, to make sure that we set up their businesses for success. The second thing is that we have certain requirements with the people that we partner with to make sure that there are certain measurable goals that they actually transfer skill across to our black entrepreneurs over a period of time to create, that pool of talent that then we can use on an ongoing basis to grow the sector.
Yeah, let's talk in general now about some of the work that you're doing as the NEF within the maritime sector. What sort of expertise and help are you giving, and who are you targeting?
In terms of targeting, it actually works in reverse because involvement of the NEF is demand driven.
Okay, so people come to you.
Yes, so it would be an entrepreneur that would come with us with a business proposal and a business plan for us to fund the particular project. Now, it can come in one of two stages where it's already conceptualized, and all they need is actually funding to be able to roll out the project. We're able to do that. But we also have the Strategic Projects Fund division where we're able to work with the entrepreneur and partners to take the process from initiation of that particular project and all the way through to commercialization and implementation of it. And really then that becomes a long-term process between us and the entrepreneur to make sure that we make a success of the project.
Yeah, but what about your work within communities? You were telling me earlier about how you also help communities themselves where perhaps nobody stands up, but there is need.
Yes. It's very interesting. Often the communities are neglected. Looking at the maritime sectors, we don't want everyone migrating
into the towns.
So what's important is creating community projects where we make sure that communities have an interest and a stake in the economic activity. I think, just to provide you an example, there's a mussel project that we did in Saldanha Bay where the local population, the locals were actually trained on how to farm those mussels properly, and to actually package them and get an offtake agreement with an international player so they can export the markets. And some of the things that you have to deal with then is how do you make sure that in the packaging process you meet international European standards so that you're able to export that product to those markets. And what we're able to provide is an engagement process really through specialists at the NEF who then interact with the local communities to see in what areas they can participate and provide the necessary support there to assist and train and get them involved in the project. And of course they'll have economic benefit flow back to the communities and the benefits as well. In partnership with the community, determining what are the areas of priority where those funds would then be utilized to uplift the whole community.
Well, welcome back to Open Exchange. Mashudu, watching that discussion about world markets and Japan, and I made the point to Kim in Cape Town that Japan is a big economy, it's got lots of big companies, it used to be the byword for growth, and no one talks about it anymore. Indeed, it was a very interesting discussion, and at the top of the news, what was quite interesting is that Japan's government could run out of money by the end of August, given that bill, so we're likely to see how that plays out, which could affect Japan in essence. It does sound like one of those false crises, because there's no way that the Japanese government is not going to pay its civil servants and do things like that, but there'll be brinkmanship, rather like in the US when they had to approve that many $trillion limit for borrowing and so on. But the interesting thing that he made there was he said that Japan has 0 interest rates or thereabouts for a decade. Now, in Europe, they're trying to reduce interest rates. United States have put them on hold till 2014, and they're wanting growth and activity. And his point was that in Japan, it's been the case for 10 years, and nothing's happened. It's happening. So it seems like, well, in Britain, probably nothing will happen. Now their deposit rates are sitting at around 0. Well, and I suppose, again, you come back to the European, and the point has been made, the Eurozone thing. If you broke up the Eurozone, that would have political consequences, but if Greece were to leave, and there are still people who come into our studio and they say, no, it's not a question of if, it's when. When does Greece leave? And if Greece does leave, well, that will show what is possible. And if they go back to the drachma, and the drachma then weakens rapidly, there'll be a lot of pain, but tourism's increase, the economy adjusts, and we didn't get to talk about Argentina, which when it defaulted and was actually persona non grata in the debt markets. No one would lend to it, but the currency devalued and they started rebuilding. Now they're showing good growth. And what's also quite interesting is that